We're going to put a sky in using the sponge technique, this time just using the bottle paints. We use exactly the same technique as we would do with the watercolour, but the colour is more intense, it's thicker. If you're doing a sky, then if possible, try and get some tonal difference from dark to light. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white down the bottom and smooth that out. Now I'm going to show you how to build clouds up on top. So I've got some black and white in my palette. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can do clouds. You can sponge them if you put white at the end of your sponge and start with a line. It doesn't have to be very straight. And then on top of that you kind of dab and sponge curves to suggest the cloud shape. And you can go underneath the small section too. So you can get the beginning of a shape with a cloud just using the sponge. Sometimes you can use a brush as well. And again, we can start with the same technique where we put a rough line in. And then what we do is we build these kind of round curves and then block them in. So that's a starting point, and we pull them out to points. Now clouds can be lots of different shapes, lots of different colours, and if you are enjoying painting, then it's worth you doing lots of visual research, really just looking at different types. Now clouds are not all white. They always have an element of grey. Now if it's a sunny day, that grey is going to be very, very pale. We'll just put them in, and you find that underneath the bottom of the cloud, and we can just pop that in just very subtle way. The darker the grey, then you suggest maybe that the weather might turn a bit rainy. So with this one, we might put much darker greys in. Sometimes I tend to use a mixture of dabbing with the brush, but then also with the sponge, just to break up any solid sections that you have. There are no outlines to clouds. They're fluffy and floaty, and that's the effect that you want to create. So the texture is quite important. So sometimes with the sponge it can leave you with some flat edges. So that's where you might use your brush just to, again, break up some of that texture which doesn't quite look right. So this is where you really just need to look, make a judgment, and then correct as you work along. And you can overlap clouds, you can build them up and do them in different colours as well. Especially for sunrise or sunset, they can be quite pink and orange.